Now going back to the story we've been following all morning, a group of activists starting their march from downtown Grand Rapids to Lansing, calling on lawmakers to take action with what's happening overseas. Before they go, they're holding a press conference right outside of Fountain Street Church. We're going to go to their live now as we believe they're speaking inside. Let's listen in.
To embody the understanding of what it's like to be displaced. We cannot know the terror of the apartheid, the genocide, the Holocaust that the Palestinian people are experiencing, but we can understand a small taste of the effects of displacement. We'll be walking 75 miles over the course of the next 5 days. We will be at the grace and compassion of our community as we walk through Lowell, Ionia, Portland, Grand Ledge, and finally into Lansing. The community has rallied around us, and we have innumerable support in the form of accommodations, hot meals, cheerleaders, and donations. This is a fundraiser. So starting in just under an hour, we'll begin the 75-mile march to the state capitol through all of those towns that I've already named. And while Grand Rapids, Detroit, and several other towns in between have a large anti-war and Palestine solidarity movement, we've chosen to be visible to protest the genocide through small towns between here and Lansing to bring the genocide home to Michigan. The number one thing that I hear from people as I'm organizing is that this doesn't affect us here. Why should I care? But the reality is, everything that's happening to Palestinians is happening with our hard-earned tax dollars. So much of your paycheck goes toward dropping bombs on families, decimating homes, and the attempt to obliterate an entire culture. We have to care. It is our moral duty to care about this issue. It is absolutely imperative that we do everything we can to stand up here for Palestinian liberation and to allow other people to understand what it's like over in Palestine. So this event is a fundraiser for Heal Palestine and Playgrounds for Palestine. These nonprofit organizations do necessary work to support the Palestinian people through the genocide that's funded by our tax dollars. Heal Palestine brings Palestinian children here to the United States for necessary and life-saving medical care. Not only that, Heal Palestine preserves the dignity of families by helping them resettle and integrate into community. In a time when US-made bombs are decimating Palestinian life and destroying both medical infrastructure and hope for survival, it is necessary that Heal Palestine and other organizations like them provide a beacon of light and hope to the Palestinian people. I will invite somebody to speak about Playgrounds for Palestine, but in short, they build playgrounds in displacement camps to uphold children's rights to have a childhood. This is a UN-protected right. We've seen throughout the last 2 years that Israel and the US states confound and conflate the United Nations international law over and over and over again through war crimes and through crimes against humanity. So we're here as people of conscience to stand up against that. As I said, this is the moral issue of our time. Supporting these organizations and upholding Palestinian liberation is our duty and our obligation as citizens of the world. So we are marching to uphold that duty. The March to Gaza to break the siege was shut down recently, but we will prevail in marching to the state capitol, in educating our community, and in raising money for the children in Palestine. So as I said, this is a fundraiser. We set an initial goal of $5,000. We thought that would be ambitious based on our previous fundraising experience, and we have already far surpassed that in direct donations, sponsorships, and endorsements. The fundraiser currently stands at $7,000, and we have set a new goal of $10,000 by Monday. So if you're planning to walk, yeah, let's cheer for that. If you're planning to walk, I encourage you to send the fundraiser to every single one of your friends. Do you remember when you were in elementary elementary school and you did the bike-a-thon or the walk-a-thon, and everybody donated a quarter or 10 cents for every mile you walked, every one of your friends is gonna give $1 for every mile that you walk. Encourage them to do that. Say, I am walking all 75 miles to the state capitol. I expect you to give $75 to this fundraiser. This benefits the children of Palestine. This is an important cause. You can donate by going to bit.ly/PSGR Walk Fundraiser. That's also available on our website, PalestineSolidarityGR.org. So you can send either of those sites to all of your friends and all of your family to encourage them to donate. We'll also be going live on the top of every hour on our Instagram until our YouTube gets approved to go live, and then we will be going live on YouTube. That YouTube is also embedded on our website, so people can go to PalestineSolidarityGR.org to follow along on our journey and see where we are at the top of every hour. We'll be posting updates to our social media and sending it out to our mass email list. Please feel free to also post on your social media. We will have a couple of rules about posting to social media and some of the private accommodations that we'll be in. We're housed in every single place you could imagine, in churches, at campgrounds, in an old retreat center, and in people's private houses. The community has really come through for all of you, and it is our team over there that made it possible. I want to invite up some speakers to talk about what we're doing here today and why they're marching. First, I'd like to invite up Yvonne Diaz-Boteo to speak about the children of Palestine.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. When I was 18 years old and starting my first semester at GBSU, I took an intro to philosophy class. And the professor that was teaching that class had done a lot of work working with refugees in refugee camps. And I'll never forget when he put an image up on the screen that semester. And that image, I'm not sure if you all remember it, but that image was of a young boy, a toddler really, who had drowned and had washed up on the beach. That image changed my life. It made me think about and realize the problems that were widespread around the world and the people who were suffering because of those problems. Almost 10 years later, none of us can wake up without opening up our phones or social media and seeing images and videos of the devastation that is being implemented on the Palestinian people. Women and children dying every single day. I think the most recent numbers that I've seen is that over 50,000 people have lost their lives, have been murdered because of the genocide in Palestine. I think the number that I saw was that over 300,000 people are missing or cannot be located now in Palestine. As Emerson mentioned, I'm sure you all have heard people say, why does that matter, or why do we care, or why should we be talking about people who are being murdered on the other side of the world? The reason why it matters is because, as Emerson said, that's our money that is dropping those bombs. It's our politicians, including right here in Grand Rapids, who are supporting that genocide. It is the foreign policy of this country that has caused the devastation, not just in Palestine, but in places all over the world. And so, what can we do about it? What can we do when it feels like individually we're all powerless to stop what's happening? What can we do when some of these people have spent years now fighting against genocide, against war crimes, and against the unspeakable crimes that are happening in Palestine? You all can do things like this today. Not everyone is going to be walking. Some people will only be there for a few miles, some people will not join until the end. But I'm sure this isn't the last event or thing that Palestine Solidarity, GR, is going to organize to help the people in Palestine. We are all in this for the long haul. We are all in this until we see change. Showing up to elections, casting your vote, educating yourself before you get there, that's all great and we all need to do it. And we all need to tell our friends and family members to do it. And to do it like they've never had before. But that's only part of the story. That's only part of the work. We need to show up each and every day and speak out against what's happening. We need to donate if we can. We need to spread those links around if we can. Donate materials if we can. Even if all you can do is talk to your family members, your loved ones, and tell them what's happening. Explain to them what's happening and why it matters to us here in Grand Rapids and in Michigan and in the United States. That will go a long way. It breaks my heart every time I see these images on social media, these videos on social media. And yet, I still feel hope. When I see some of these images of kids who are living amongst rubble and amongst destroyed buildings as far as the eye can see, and yet they're still smiling, they're still able to see joy in some of the smaller things of life. That is a huge contrast between those images and the images of children who are crying out, desperate to get a piece of bread, or some of those few supplements that are making their way into Palestine, into Gaza, into wherever else. If those kids and those families can find joy in those small things, then I think we can sacrifice here to do all we can to make sure that genocide stops, to make sure that the foreign policy of this country changes, that we put an end to genocide. I want to leave you all off with another small point that I want to make. I learned about this term, it's called, I think, the imperial boomerang. And what it basically means is that an empire will practice forms of oppression around the world and then bring those forms of oppression back to its own people. And that's exactly what we've seen happen. Not just in LA, not just in New York, but here in Grand Rapids. And so the next time someone tells you, why should I care about what's happening in Palestine, in the Middle East, or anywhere else, you tell them, because if you don't care now, you're definitely going to care when it's your family member who's being assaulted, who's being arrested for speaking out. This is only day one. I look forward to joining those of you who are walking later this weekend. End wars, end genocide, and free Palestine.
Thank you, Iman, for that, those remarks. You're absolutely correct. We know that the issue of Palestine is every issue. When I say that it's the moral issue of our time, it's a climate justice issue. We're dumping bombs that increase CO2 in the atmosphere by tons and tons. This is a women's rights issue. Women in Palestine have no access to reproductive health, to hygiene products. Children are dying because they can't be breastfed. They're not getting any sort of supplements. This is every issue. It's not just about the genocide, it's about every single issue intersecting. It's about how police in the United States go over to train with Israeli occupying forces and then bring those brutal tactics back to the United States to use them to repress activists, to repress Black and brown communities. We know that that's wrong. So when we march to reclaim our humanity, we are marching for every single one of these issues. The March Against Genocide has been endorsed by over 30 community partners from around the state of Michigan, including the U.S. Palestinian Community Network, the Palestinian Youth Movement, CARE Michigan, and others. I would like to invite one of our endorsing partners up to the stage to speak and talk about why he is marching with us today. That would be Sahar Abu Bakr from Kalamazoo Nonviolent Opponents of War.
Good morning. As Emerson said, my name is Sahar Abu Bakr, and three of us came today from Kalamazoo, Michigan. We represent the Kalamazoo Nonviolent Opponent of War, known as KNOW, and it is one of the oldest continuing protests since the Iraq War. Since 2003, every single Sunday we stand near the Federal Building in Kalamazoo protesting war and violence. Of course, Kalamazoo Nonviolent Opponent of War will endorse this event because it fit very much to our vision and our strategy that walking this distance remind the world of the Gaza people, children, men and women, that who we need to walk every single day to get food. And we have been watching that only the last 12 days, 800 people were killed in Gaza. About 500 of them were just looking for food. The other reason is my own personal story. Well, I'm currently professor of chemical engineering at Western Michigan University for the last 24 years, and before that, 16 years in Wisconsin and 6 years at Michigan State. I'm old enough to retire, but I'm not going to retire. My parents were living in Haifa, married with 3 children, having good life, having business of olive oil and cheese factory and all of that. Then on May 7, 1948, on a Friday, my father and his brother and his cousin went for a Friday prayer, which is around noon. After the Friday prayer was done, they were about to leave the mosque, and there were Menachem Begin group or Gan and Stern outside with machine gun directing people to the port of Haifa to take a ship and ship to Lebanon, to Beirut. My father's cousin, Hamid, his name, he refused to obey the order and they shot him dead right away. He's married to my aunt who had 2 children, so she has to live all her life widowed with 2 young children. My father ended up in Beirut. At that time, the terrorist group, the Israeli terrorist group, were terrorizing people. So my mother at home, hearing in the radio, 1 bomb explode here, 1 bomb explode here, and her husband did not show up, so she thought he's dead or something. So she has to walk. She was pregnant on me, and she has to walk with 3 children about 20 miles away to her parents' house near Jenin. So I am very much Palestinian refugee, 3rd generation, but my children and grandchildren, when you ask, they were born and raised here, when you ask them, where are you from, they said Haifa. Because this history is very connected to us Palestinians. My son, born and raised in Germany, you ask him, where are you from? He said, from Haifa, even though he never actually been there once. So what we have been watching the last 19 months is horrible. But it did not start October 7. It did not start October 7. We will be here, I'm university professor, I can go for 50 minutes, but I'm not going to. from 1948, you know, as little boy, I was watching refugees living in tents, left their, forced to leave their homes and everything. And even in the school, you know, people were really, you can see sadness, you know, and because these kids listen to their parents about their experience, so they lived with it. Then in 1956, Israel with France and England occupied the Suez Canal and Gaza. Maybe very few of you know that there was genocide back then also. Ariel Sharon was the head of the group that occupied Gaza, and he went to Khan Yunis and Rafah, and they did 3,000 in each town, men, women, and children, killing, mass killing. The world knew very little about that. There was no social media back then. Then in 1967, Israel occupied the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, Golan Heights, and Sinai. Until the war, they are the victim. All the time, they attack, they kill, and they are the victim. And the Western media, unfortunately, follow that always. So, and then on and on, 1982, this massacre in Sabra and Shetela and all of that. So as I said, I'm not going to go through this. Emerson tells me I have to finish, so I will respect that and say, free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine! I am loath to cut off a Palestinian man explaining his history. That doesn't feel good, I will say. But in the interest of time and getting us out and marching, it's 8 o'clock. We still have one more speaker, and then we have a special treat for morale. I would like to invite up Reverend Dennison to talk about Playgrounds for Palestine. This is truly an interfaith event endorsed by the East Lansing Islamic Center and Palestine Interfaith Center, and we are so honored that Reverend Dennison is here to offer some words about one of our beneficiaries today. Give it up for Reverend Dennison.
Thank you, Anderson. I will be brief. So if you've never been here before, I want to welcome you to the Fountain Street Church. For over 150 years, this has been a free church. This has been a church that refuses to speak for people. This is a church where people speak for themselves. And if you have a voice and you need a place, you need a roof over your head, we are here for you. And so we are honored to be the point of embarkation for this incredible work that you were doing. Before I was an ordained minister, I worked as a medic, an emergency medical technician with the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, stationed in the West Bank, predominantly in the Bethlehem governance. And at that time, I also traveled around the Midwest, and I raised money for an organization called Playgrounds for Palestine. This is pre-ministry stuff, so it's really deep for me. That money predominantly came from churches, even churches here in West Michigan, churches in the downtown, who could see the humanity of the children of Palestine. And they could understand the pain that they were experiencing because it was negotiated through their own sacred stories and histories. These churches talk about Bethlehem at least once a year. Those people have been experiencing ethnic cleansing for generations at this point, since the 1940s, and today it has escalated into genocide. We watch the news. We know that right now, women and children are being corralled into believing that they're going to receive food and water during a famine, and they are being gunned down by soldiers, the Israeli army. We see that happening just yesterday. Nearly 100 people were killed seeking fresh water and food. This is an ongoing issue, but this has reached a breaking point. And we also know that the victims of these atrocities are overwhelmingly children. According to the most conservative estimates, 44% of all of the deaths that have happened have been children. 70% are women and children. By other estimates, because it is very hard to track childhood casualties, it could be as high as 60%. These kids deserve a future. And so, when I worked for Playgrounds for Palestine, it was and it is and it continues to be a phenomenal organization because it is a hopeful organization. It posits that children have a right to be children, and they have a right to play. So we built playgrounds in occupied territories, in refugee camps, in villages, in towns, throughout the diaspora, throughout the West Bank, and throughout Gaza, throughout all of Palestine for those children. And so every step that you take on this march, you will be taking a step in hope. In hope. So you've probably heard it said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The children living under occupation and genocide in Palestine need you to go far. They need you to go far. The eyes of the Roman Empire have turned again on the people of Palestine, people of faith, people of long histories. We know how this goes. We hear the voice of Rachel crying for her children. So we have heard this story and we know how it goes, and we need you to go far for them. So I want to thank you, not just because I am part of this city, not just because I am a person of faith, but I want to thank you because I have met these children. I have seen them, I've worked with them, I've helped get them their asthma treatment, I've helped get them to the hospital, and I know who they are. And they are our kids, and they're your kids. So thank you for them. You are a people of hope. This is a journey of hope, and you're going to be wildly successful. And so they see you. They see you. So thank you, all of you. Thank you so much.
All right, I want to keep the energy up. We have one last person to speak, and they're going to be leading us through a song. That way we can keep that energy up as we're walking. This is something that you can recite to yourself on mile 10, mile 20, mile 30, and into mile 75. I'd like to give it up for Ren from Solidarity Singers, Grand Rapids.
This is a really old song. We're not actually sure who wrote it. The melody and the lyrics come separately from union movements that are hundreds of years old. And I'm going to ask you to stand, especially if you're marching. Go ahead and stand. It's the best singing posture. And I'm going to ask you to, a little practice, walk in place. So we're just going to go walk, step, step. And the song goes like this. I'm going to sing, and then I'll point to you and you sing. Step by step, the longest march. Step by step, the longest march. Can be won, can be won, can be won, can be won. Many stones that fall.
Just hearing from those with Palestine Solidarity Grand Rapids, just hearing from those with Palestine Solidarity Grand Rapids as they began the Walk Against Genocide, walking from downtown Grand Rapids all the way to Lansing. We know that's about a 70-mile walk. They talked about this is also a fundraiser as they support the children of Palestine, a big focus on kids being the main ones affected by this conflict and war. And they said that they are fighting for the right of children to have a childhood, to play, a right that they said is supported by the UN. They talked about having an initial fundraising goal of $5,000 and already surpassing that.
Yeah, not only that, we're talking about these things, these tangible facts that we heard throughout this press conference, but we're also hearing of personal stories, many folks impacted or maybe loved ones impacted there, telling their personal stories. We know Deja Barrett is live there on the ground. We're going to check in with her in just a few minutes as they get ready to kick off that march again from downtown GR all the way to the state capitol as they raise awareness and, of course, raise money for Palestinian charities.